Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. We have a whole lot to talk about on what's going to be July 27th, 2023, tomorrow. So just taking a look at radar tonight. It's, again, late in the evening, but I'm trying to get this video out before I go to sleep. So we have two kind of MCSs going through. This is kind of your ring of fire, hot, humid jungle weather to the south. To the north, it's a little more temperate. I mean, it's still humid, definitely, but this is going to be kind of a lifting boundary through the northeast tomorrow, and that is going to paint the picture for probably, I'd say, Prague to be the most significant severe weather event of the summer so far, across much of the northeast and, of course, southern New England, Massachusetts, Connecticut, mostly what I'm focusing on, maybe Rhode Island. So here's your day 2 outlook, which I'll be looking at. So it's a slight risk. It was a day 3 slight risk, and no real changes to day 2. But here's the kicker, 5% tornado. And this is not, like Hudson Valley, Western Mass, 5%. No, this is a 5% to the coast. So this is a really favorable environment. It's up into southern central New Hampshire, southwest Maine. So it's pretty unusual to see a 5% to the coast. I know we just had one with that, I was going to say tropical remnant, but it was just the July 16th event. But that was more of a heavy rain event. Few tornadoes, as you saw, but I think I have more confidence this is going to be a more robust event, especially from a tornado perspective. And I was kind of on the fence about them going 5% for that. I was like, okay, I kind of see it, but I'm fully on board for the day 2 5%. And I think it's a high-end 5% for tomorrow. If not, maybe a fringe 10%. I'll talk about that. Wind is 15. I could see wind going 30, which would trigger the enhanced. So I could see an enhanced risk wind driven. And I think that's not just because we have an environment that's going to favor strong winds getting mixed down, but because looks to be fairly widespread storm coverage. Hail 5%, I could probably see that staying. Maybe an upgrade, I don't know. But see if there's anything in their discussion of speciality. I mean, they're saying at least this. I'm going to talk about instability a little bit. I think instability is a little interesting because it kind of depends how much we mix out, how high dew points are, which I wanted to show you. The dew point forecasts are pretty insane, but also pretty good winds for the summertime. This is something you'd see. I'm going to show you the photographs, but these are like September, October photographs with, I think in some cases, 30,000 SB Cape is probably an okay bet. So this is one of those rare high shear, high cape environments. That's what we say when you have really nice hodos and you have really favorable wind speeds. I do want to start, though, with talking about some of the upper level flow. I'm actually going to go to 500 millbar flow to start with. And again, sorry if things are a little slow. Hotel Wi-Fi, I am traveling this week, so I'm actually not home for this event, but still going to cover it, of course, because it is significant. So we got the 0Z NAM just coming in. Again, I'm just doing this once we get the 0Z models. But I just want to show the flow pattern. Is we have this some cutoffs, lows to the north, some of these close to isobars, obviously, and it's just blazing. Kind of ring of fire with the subtropical high, with all that heat, blazing ring of fire. But if you take a look at 500 millbars and you see this little area of enhanced westerly flow, which digs into New England on tomorrow, just a little kink in the energy, shortwave trough coming through, riding the ring of fire, riding all these very strong westerly winds, and that's a kicker for severe weather. And then eventually this dive southeast, breaking the heat, and it looks like Saturday could have another, I think, somewhat significant severe weather event. I don't think to the degree of Thursday, but it stays active for sure. Do we have... we can put vorticity, why not? Vorticity should give you the same idea. And again, sorry if some of these models are loading a bit slow, but not much I can do. But again, vorticity, I mean, this is kind of being sparked with, what was an MCV, MCS, or two, a few MCS is kind of embedded within the shortwave in Michigan, Ohio, Western PA today. And you can actually see how some of it is evolving. Obviously, I mean, here's one MCS, and then it's kind of like embedded within the shortwave. But we're going to see how this evolves tonight, essentially. But in any case, you got this remnant energy diving in tomorrow, and it's going to dive into a very unstable environment with very good wind profiles to ignite it. And I think there is some uncertainty about what can happen to this activity tonight. it looks like this MCS is maybe a little further south, but I'm expecting at least this to kind of die away, and potentially some of this northern stream activity that's going to be kind of moving through Buffalo. I'm expecting things to kind of stay along or north of the Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont border, and then leave some sort of differential heating boundary for storms to really feed off of. So I'll get to that. Do we have NATOcast for tomorrow? Let's see. So here's NATOcast. And we haven't got the 0Z yet, I don't think. Should be coming out pretty soon. But there's your 5%. I'd probably expect a 5%. Also, I'd probably expand it more. But NATOcast did a 5% for the July 16th event. All right, let's go to what everybody cares about. We're going to some high-res stuff. So how does one categorize tomorrow's event? I do want to do a top-down approach, if you know. I mean, I already talked about 500 millibars. I want to talk about this pretty insane low-level jet that we're going to have. I said low-level jet in New England in July. I'm like, what? This is something we talk about in the winter, but really nice wind energy. Here's Thursday. So this is just pushing through, and I think your best wind energy, southeastern Mass, but this is an impressive signal. I actually want to go to 850. I think that's going to show it a bit better. Yeah, that's a lot better. So here's your 850 millibar jet, and I mean, look at this. This is 45, 50 knots sustained a mile up. So this is really impressive wind energy, and it's over the whole region throughout the event. I mean, 2 p.m., 5 p.m., maybe begin to exit, but I mean, you're kind of shortwave axis. If you look at where these lines bulge, this is the axis where the storm's going to be going off of. So you have really favorable wind energy. This is stuff that you would definitely see late into the fall with these low-topped, high-shear, low-caped, zero-cape events. So to see this with the kinematics I'm about to show you is why there's serious concern. So we can look at different profiles. Mixed layer cape, which apparently is, lower than SB, so people like it more, but I mean, these are impressive values for sure. I'm on the NAM, but we can go to the HER too. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, these are fiery values, which we're not getting the number. Okay, well, the red is over 3,000. Yeah, I mean, so impressive instability, for sure. So discussion I have is, I don't know why I'm just getting on the NAM 3K, because that's better. So I wanted to talk about moisture and kind of convective evolution, because I feel like that's going to be a really mood point for what happens. So kind of the idea is higher dew points is better for tornadoes. That is kind of the idea. Higher dew points are better for tornadic activity. And the reason why is the LCL, the lifted condensation level, the cloud base, is lower to the ground in general if it's very, very moist and soupy. And that is good for tornadoes because the tornado, the funnel, the rotation has to descend less distance to touch down as a tornado. So in general, higher moisture, higher dew points is good for tornadoes. And I'm going to talk about that because if we look, we have dew points that are going to be surging north. This is kind of if you want to call it a warm front, or I could just call it really strong southwesterly winds advecting a jungle-like air mass. I mean, either or. But some of these values are just high-end. I mean, 79, that's like, Hudson River Valley. That's like Bradley Airport, Hartford, Springfield, Oh, there's an 80. Oh, my goodness. So can you get a sounding of this? This is actually an 80. I'm going to have to save this to my hard drive. Look at this. I'm saving this real quick. Sorry, I'm going completely off script. That is just an insane sounding. But anyway, I didn't mean to cherry pick. I saw an 80 and I had to. But it has pretty much the entire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and even a good chunk of southern New Hampshire, southwestern Maine, over 75. Which is, we did this on July 16th. And I said July 16th, I was so worried because dew points were so high. But that day, convection didn't organize. It was embedded. It was rain wrapped. We didn't have as much cape because it was rain that morning. I was like, yeah, well, instability isn't great. It's just with the moisture, it doesn't need to be sunny. However, the problem with Smart is it is going to be sunny. It is going to cook. It is going to destabilize. We are going to have a cap, which keeps early stuff from developing. So even though, we already have the moisture, which we need for tornadoes, we're actually going to get that classic sun in the morning, towering CU, early afternoon type of day. that all the great tornado outbreaks have in New England and probably across a lot of the country have had. So that's a worrying sign. I mean, that is high end. And you're like, oh, well, maybe, the NAM is overdoing it. Maybe, surely the HERS is going to like overmix things or mix it out. Oh, not really. I mean, the HERS exact same story. I think HERS may be a little lower. I mean, this is still maybe more like low mid 70s. But I mean, you've the two best cams. They're kind of long going. Maybe that's debatable, but the HER and NAM, like 2 zeros. We're both on 0 for both of these. This is hot off the press. 75 dew points. So that's a really favorable environment. Again, I'm just gonna round. Here's a 76 and low. Let's just go up here. I just want to show you the idea. Is your LCL is really low to the ground. Where actually is it in here? Yeah, LCL is like 1,000 maybe on average. It's here. This is low to the ground. Remember in Colorado when it's like 90 over like 50 and you get like hail and popcorn storms? Well, your LCL is going to be like really high up, so you don't get tornadoes. But this is a tropical low LCL environment. But the issue is the amount of instability. And obviously, I mean, here's the HODO. I talked about that southwesterly jet, but here's when you put it together. Is just incredibly favorable. Just going to a few other soundings. I mean, some of the models were showing a cap. I think the 18Z NAM was, which I'll show in a second, but just tremendous looking HODOs. It doesn't really matter what model you go to. I mean, this is just very impressive. I mean, look at this. This is a 50 knot wind at 900 millibars. Very impressive. Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to show you, that there's a little bit of a cap. If I go back like another hour or two, I'm going to go to 12 p.m. Actually, why did that cap erode? Okay, we're going to go to 1 p.m. There's a cap. There is a definite cap at around 900 millibars. And this is important because this is going to keep early morning clouds and early morning storms from developing. It's going to... it's an EML and it's a cap. It's going to let things really cook, and you get this in high-end severe weather days, and this is very unusual in southern New England. Just tremendous photograph. I just can't get over that. Your STP significant tornado parameter. I haven't even looked at analogs. I mean, I don't memorize these dates. It's like maybe I'll see like May 9th, 1999. May 3rd, 1999. Maybe I'll see May 20th, 2013. Something like that. Be like, oh my god, but I don't know. I'll talk about analogs later. Your PWATs are pretty high at 2, so is there going to be flooding risk? Yeah. WPC, marginal risk. I think that's more because it just does not stop raining here. I think Worcester is going to get like a top 4 West July of all time. Sorry, wettest month of all time. And it'd be the second West July ever, I think, in Worcester, which is insane. DCAPE is around 900, so there's going to be a damaging wind risk as a secondary concern. Or, I mean, probably is going to be the higher concern for totals. I just said secondary because tornadoes are more scary than wind, as you know. But, yeah, I'm just looking at the sounding. So, yeah, some dry air loft. This, I think, favors discrete supercells. If we have some of this dry air, not enough where I think it's going to undo instability, just, keeps things a little more discrete longer. So I think stuff definitely stays discrete, and then you begin to congeal as you get towards the I-95 corridor. That's my best prediction. I'm just doing this before I even look at the actual reflectivity runs, because I know that's what you care about, but trying to kind of make my own forecast. Your K values are on average. I mean, I don't want to pay too much attention. I was talking about, I can cherry pick something that's probably, over 4,000. Like, if I really want to, like, you really want to try a cherry pick, I probably can, but just trying to give you an idea of how much agreement there is. I think I can do by showing you the dew points, because every model is having dew points near exceeding 75 points. Again, here's just an idea. I mean, look at that. High-end surface-based CAPE. NAM, the same idea. Every model is showing those 75 dew points, and thus, you're getting over 3,000 surface-based CAPE, which is high-end for New England. That's high CAPE. And then the high shear comes from that hodograph, which I showed you. And that's a September-October hodograph. So high shear, high CAPE, it does not happen often in New England. There's many years we don't get a true high CAPE, high shear overlap. And one that actually favors tornadoes, yeah, wow. I think June 30th, 2021 was a high shear, high CAPE, because it hit 100 that day, and we had a 50 knot something jet. But that day was completely linear, squall line, one QLCS tornado warning, but that day was linear. There was not really tornado threat at all. This is that environment with a tornado threat. So that's what I'm seeing that's concerning me. I don't need to show you supercell composite Sigtoria. I mean, it's obviously pretty high. But I actually wanted to talk about, I guess, what we all care about. Let's talk about some reflectivity runs. So starting with the NAM, so I think this is kind of the big, I don't know if I'd say controversy. This is where I was disagreeing, at least a little bit, some people on Twitter, and kind of my hot take for tomorrow is I don't care about remnant MCS, MCV activity. A lot of people have been saying, it's going to wreck the environment. This stuff is going to track into southern New England. We're going to get clouds and rain to start the day. And, we're going to have a lot of cloud cover. It's not going to get that hot. It's only going to get to the low to the mid 80s. We're not really going to absolutely cook. If we get to the 90s, it's going to be better for tornadoes. We want a day that's completely sunny. Yada, yada, yada. But I'm telling you, I don't really care that, is our MCSs, evening MCSs the night before and where they go, hard to forecast, yeah, but do I really care about the uncertainty? Not at all, and I'm going to explain why right now. So, yes, we know there's some sort of MCS that's tracking across upstate New York, PA tonight, early in the morning hours, and it gets into New Hampshire, Vermont, early in the day, through the Adirondacks. This is, 9-10 in the morning. Uncertainty. Do we have clouds in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island? Do we have maybe at least some convection? I mean, it could just be light showers. It could be, some elevated thunder coming through, here the Berkshires. Could we have this? Absolutely. Is this severe? The main event? I don't see it. But again, I don't care. And that's because if you heat it up too much, which I talked about with the Colorado LCL thing, if you heat it up too much and we get to low to mid 90s in Boston, in Worcester, if we get to low 90s, your dew point is going to fall into the 60s because as you heat it up, you mix out and the dew point falls. And a dew point lower, like a dew point of 60 or 65 with a temp in the low 90s, is not good for tornadoes. So if we do that, if we have full sunshine from dawn, if it's sunny at 8 a.m. and it's sunny all the way to when stuff begins developing at 4 p.m., if it's sunny the entire day in Boston, and we hit 93, 94 degrees and the dew point's in the 60s, can we get severe weather? Absolutely. We probably would get a wicked squall line, but I would not see a tornado threat, or a significant tornado threat, a supercell threat, because that dew point temperature spread would be too high and the cloud base would be too high and we would have a lot of difficulty getting tornadoes to the ground. But if we have some lighter rain, maybe a rumble thunder, a lot of high-low, mid-level clouds during the morning hours with a few hours of afternoon sun, and we keep the temperatures more like mid to upper 80s, and we keep the dew points in the low-mid 70s because it's rained a little bit in the morning, and we haven't had a ton of sun to mix things out. If we do that, then I think the tornado threat is way higher, and I think that's what this is suggesting. I think that you have definitely some morning clouds, and then you begin to heat it up again. I think we get into sunshine because I showed you that cap in Boston, or wherever in Massachusetts, Connecticut, there is a cap. So I think that we do, even though we have high-level clouds in the morning, I don't think we're going to initiate convection. I think it's just a little bit of cloud cover to bring down the temps a little bit and keep those dew points high for tornado development. And then we get in a little bit of sunshine, and then you're breaking that cap in the afternoon. The other thing I want to talk about with this remnant MCS activity as it comes to northern New England, is there going to be an embedded tornado threat into Vermont, New Hampshire with the actual MCS? Absolutely, because this is going to have its own wind field. It's an MCV from the night before. But the other thing it's doing, as you see it coming across, here Vermont, New Hampshire, this early morning stuff, elevated storms, maybe a low-end supercell potential with one of these. What it's doing is putting down a differential heating boundary. It's raining here. We're getting lower temperatures. It's very moist. But here we're not. I mean, are we getting high clouds in Massachusetts and Connecticut? Yeah, maybe a brief shower, but in general, we're not getting rain, especially towards Boston. So we're getting something down where I'm tracing out called differential heating boundary, where at the north of it, it's cool, it's stable, and at the south of it, it is hotter, it's cooking, it's very humid. Could even be a wind shift boundary. And this boundary is going to ignite supercells in the afternoon. Look where the storms fire off of. They fire off of where this boundary has been. New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and they move into Massachusetts and Connecticut. They fire off this differential heating boundary. Could terrain play a feature? Absolutely. I think that the Berkshires, Hudson River Valley can have some terrain features that help kind of converge winds and force connected development and stuff, right? Winds right over the mountains, absolutely. But I think that it's that differential heating boundary from the MCS in the morning, which is going to be really important and a really big player for significant afternoon severe weather. So that's why I feel really good about this activity, even though we don't know exactly where it's going to go. As long as it tracks somewhere along and north of the Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire border, I feel really confident about significant afternoon severe weather because of that differential heating boundary and because those high-level clouds keep things a little cooler. But enough of that. So 20Z, yeah. So I mean, stuff's going up. Like discrete storms, absolutely, absolutely discrete storms. Any of these are going to have a tornado potential. Again, I promise I'm going to stop taking soundings, but here's just another one. 79/84. This dew point is way overdone. This cape is probably half this cape, but I don't care. Look at that photograph. That is really good. And you look at the environment, the discrete organization. It's that cap and a little bit of the dry air, which keeps things discrete. Especially that southwest wind parallel to the front, which is kind of a northwest oriented front, that can encourage discrete storms, but these are semi-discrete. I mean, are these in southern New Hampshire and Vermont going to be supercellular? Probably. These in Connecticut are definitely discrete against just one run. Things congeal into a line as they come towards the seacoast and down into Boston. This is why I'm saying I think we could see an enhanced for wind because it looks somewhat widespread, and this is definitely going to utilize a favorable environment for wind. Again, I talked about that wind energy. So yeah, this is what the squall line's coming into. Is there a tornado environment? Yes. So even if it's squall line, I think embedded QL6 tornadoes in addition to supercell tornadoes, yes. But also you look at that wind, 40, 50 knots, you can easily mix down. So that's why I think that they could go enhanced for wind, is because there's a lot of wind energy upstairs to mix down. And Cape obviously helps. And then as a few rounds, maybe continuing into the early evening, you could get a little bit of a flood threat. I mean, it looks like a few things try to redevelop on the kind of the bookend of that squall line. Then we can even get to Friday, and Saturday is eventually going to be pretty big too. But that's just the NAM. I'm going to show you all 4 runs, the big 4 for cams, and then I'm going to sign off. But it's been a fun talk about. So here's the HRRR. And again, one other really key point that I'm looking at for why I think tomorrow is significant. I talked about the really strong consensus between models for such a favorable thermodynamic and kinematic profile with the amount of fuel and wind energy. The agreement between models in that is really good for day 2. But also, the agreement in how this MCS acts is really good too. This is the HRRR at 0Z, and it's showing almost the exact same thing during the morning, where you get this one kind of line that tries to get going through kind of the Hudson River Valley, and then it begins to die out, scraping northwest Mass with a few showers, storms, and then again you're getting this exact same differential heating boundary with a lot of rain, maybe an embedded tropical tornado threat. All right, just for funsies, let's see what one sounding looks like. Is this a tropical tornado threat? No, I mean this HOTO's nice, but you don't have the instability. Very low on tornado threat early in the day with this. Whoops, spoiler. But anyway, differential heating boundary, cut and paste. People are saying we don't know where the MCS is going to go. MCSs are hard to forecast. Well, I'm seeing great consensus so far with CAMs of where it's going to go. But you can still tell me you don't know. I still don't care, even if it doesn't do this. So yeah, differential heating boundary. Also, early morning crap from it. See this stuff? Some of this here, this is just kind of remnant crap from the MCS the night before. Early morning stuff splits off into discrete storms. That is another really cool thing about early morning MCSs for late day severe weather. They have remnant precip that can kind of split off and be the storms themselves later in the day. And I do think we could see some lighter showers in PA that become the main storms later in the day. Look at this monster supercell coming into Worcester County. I would love to be chasing this one if I was home, but all of these are supercells. You got one there, one coming through Concord, one in Manchester, New Hampshire. This one's going to go through Worcester County. I mean, these could be supercells. This is maybe a little embedded, but yeah, this is all supercellular. Look at these individual cells. And look at this environment. I mean, let's go between these two cells. Look at the environment these individual cells are in. This is better, 72/81. That's more, I think this is more realistic what it's going to look like, but still, 2.5K cape, really favorable, incredible photograph. This is a really good tornado environment, and stuff's going to be discrete, and that just, it looks very organized. This is likely a monster supercell going into Boston Metro 3-4 p.m. I mean, look at all these discrete storms. Even southwestern Maine. Western Maine's going to have to watch out. And then it looks like you have a secondary squall line. That's why this looks more linear to me. I'll take a sounding here. This is actually where I live. Not sure what this dryer is doing. That looks a bit bogus. But look at this wind energy you can mix down. Just big southwesterly gusts. So yeah, I think we could see an enhanced for wind. Definitely could see an enhanced for wind, because you look at a linear developing squall line, especially coming through a metro area. This is going to be not hard to get 30% wind. I don't think it'll go hatched, but I can see 30% wind. A lot of wind energy, a lot of cape. Tornado threat, more conditional, but these are the guys to do it, and I think they can. I think they're in a really favorable environment. Again, I'm not seeing a crazy flood threat despite the marginal, but I think this is more how much rain we've had. Two other models, I've looked less at these. The RRFS, this is 18Z. We don't have, we have to go to 12Z because 18Z isn't all the way in yet. So older, but again, I'm showing you the big four. So this is an earlier run, but it looks really good. I think RRFS more constitutes enhanced for wind / maybe QLCS tornado, a little bit less for squall line. Even this early morning stuff, this is where a little bit of confidence goes down. You don't see this stuff split into convection. I would think one of these could be a supercell. We don't see it. We're probably still a little capped. But it's still a differential heating zone, some of the leftover convection that just explodes. And look at this, one big squall line. So this would be a big time squall line, big time enhanced wind without, much for a tornado threat. Do you still have a favorable tornado environment out ahead? Probably. You're just, you're not going to get the storm mode to utilize it. And finally, it looks like we're getting a few new. Do you want to go to the HRF? I always get confused by these three, but they kind of do the same thing. Anyway, we have one more model to show tonight, and then I'll do just a few analogs and get out of here, because I've probably been talking. How long have I been talking? 26 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be a long video, but I don't care. There's a lot to talk about today. Oh, come on, you can load, you can do it. Okay, we're good. Same idea for MCS evolution overnight? I think so. This one's a little further north. Looks like things are a little further north. So this one says, I think, a bit more. Looks like we could be cooking into southern New England. I think we could really cook on this one. I have no idea what the environment is in this profile. So let's see what things look like in Worcester County. Really good. That is still high dew point. I don't see one model with the dew point under 75, which is pretty insane. Little more mixed signals here. I mean, it looks like discrete storms out ahead of the line. This is an earlier show coming in. I mean, this would definitely look good for the Boston area. I mean, that's 4 p.m. stuff coming through Boston. That's peak heating. Usually we get stuff a little bit too late in the evening. That's okay. This is up to 90, so this might be mixing a little bit too much. But the dew point's still so high. I'm a little skeptical of the tornado threat if we get to 90. That's one of the few things I'm a little skeptical about, is how warm it actually could be. If we actually get to 90, that's a little warm for tornadoes, actually, around here, but pretty good. That's about what I have. So I'll leave you a little bit of eye candy and just tell you about a few analogs that I'm seeing for tomorrow, and then get out of here. So I think number one is going to be June 23rd, 2015. I think actually the SPC outlook, I posted on Twitter, but I think the SPC outlook for the day one tomorrow is going to mimic that, which I think, first off, they had severe weather in Michigan and Ohio the night before, as they are today. They had an overnight MCS coming through that went through Vermont, northwestern Mass, and actually a little bit further south. We got a thunder shower in Boston. I did around noon, and that was a little bit of bust potential. We didn't quite heat up as much as we could that day. Still got to the mid 80s, but it kept things a little cooler, kept things from mixing out. Could we see that again? Yeah, I think so. But I think it's definitely the same idea of a morning MCS tracking the north, and you get that differential heating boundary. So that day was very similar. I think we had one EF0 tornado on that day, but we had a lot of supercells going on. Something kind of like this. It was discrete supercells. We had a tornado warning in Plymouth County. I think today might be a little further northwest, but maybe not. We'll see. So I think that is the number one analog, and I think they are going to go enhanced for wind. I'm pretty sure just, in addition to a squall line being widespread and being higher probability, you get those wind gusts. That low-level jet is really impressive, and you usually don't have that for thunderstorms with this type of cape, so it's going to be very easy to create damaging winds from thunderstorms tomorrow. I think almost everything's going to be severe thunderstorm warned. So, yeah, I think enhanced for wind, and then 5% tornado stays. And that day was a 5% tornado that went to about I think it was also the Cape Cod Canal. It went into Rhode Island, went to the 985 corridor or further. But that's what we have now. I'll show you, but the day 2 SPC tornado goes to the 95 corridor or beyond it. Yeah, it goes to it. And I think that is similar, so I would expect the tornado threat to stay. I wouldn't touch this too much. I think it's pretty good. I might pull it a little bit further south into Connecticut because I think it's a really favorable environment kind of in here. But I wouldn't touch it too much. I think it's good. And that day was a 5% tornado in almost the same spot. Was it a high-end 5%? Probably. I think this is a high-end 5%, but I can't constitute a 10%. I don't think. There's not enough confidence in... You really want to have probably multiple rounds of discrete supercells to get 10%. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I think that's what we see tomorrow. And I think it's the best environment I've seen since 6/23/15. I think that's the best tornado environment forecasted, but I think tomorrow could be bigger. And if you go further back, you got to go to the big one, which is June 1st, 2011, the Springfield tornado. And is this day like that one? No, because that day had an insane EML. We don't have an insane EML. We just have some capping. But wind profiles are probably better today than that day. Cape is a lot lower. But that day was more of a hail day also. I don't think this is a big hail day, but there are some similarities. Are there similarities to June 1st, 2011? Absolutely. But I think this is a little more linear and a little more wind, a little bit less tornado threat. But that's what I have. Stay safe. It's going to be a really interesting day, and I'm glad I was able to cover this.